Hello, everybody. I I hope you're all doing well. Welcome to today's session, which is about understanding strands, which is actually an introduction to autonomous workflow. So I hope all of you are well. Welcome very much. This is the very first event of February as our user group, and we're excited to have this. It's an amazing session, and we are honored to have all of you people here. We are honored to have an amazing speaker with us, and I believe we're going to be helped. We're going to get a lot of insights. Personally, I'm excited for this, and I hope to have a lot of intake from what comes. Um, so we are live already. I do not have the capacity to go to other groups and ask them to share. So if you can kindly go and tell to your other groups that we are live, that it's good for them that they join. Invite other people, remind your people in other groups that we have begun and we will like them here. Uh-huh. So getting inside it, I want to share a little bit about AWS AIML Kenya user group. We are a community which is full of cloud enthusiasts. We have machine learning practitioners. We also have data scientists and we have AI innovators. And in this group, we are here to help people, explore and have more interactions with AWS technology so that they can have um, better things to do. They can at least get the know-how of how to go about AI and ML using all of this that we're offering here. We have sessions which encourage discussions about AWS services and other technologies, which are for the benefit of all of us here. The vision of AWS AIML Kenya, it is to transform ideas into impacts. And the way we are transforming ideas into impacts, it is through using AI and ML solutions. So that's our vision. And our mission is using AI ML solutions. AWS was launched last year in February 2025. Therefore, this particular meeting being our very first meeting for February, it's actually a privilege and it's showing something and an anniversary note. We are entering a new year. So according to AWS AIML Kenya, we are ushering a new year for us with this meeting. Therefore, it's amazing for us to be here. I'm excited for this. So far we have a membership of 672 people, and that is a very huge gap for a group which has just begun 1 year. Of course, we have a higher goal to achieve more people, but 672, we appreciate the people and we can keep inviting more people to join us and to get to get helped using our AI ML solutions. So I want us to meet the leadership. Our lead organizer and the head of partnerships in AWS AIML Kenya is the one and only Kevin Tue. We appreciate his work for us. We appreciate how he helps us all. He's the one who makes all of this at least come possible. And he's an encouragement to all of us. The next leader, it is me. Finally, this is where I introduce myself. My name is Rachel Wanjao. I'm the head of graphics, and today I've been given the privilege to host our very first meeting of February. So I would like to also thank Tue for that privilege. It's an expensive privilege to do this. The next leader is Sherry Obare. She's the leader of social media. Everything you see posted in social media, the captionings and the timings, she's in charge of it and she's been doing an amazing job. Our next leader is Mishek Mujimi. He's the head of content and he's also doing an amazing job to ensure that there is content throughout the group. And finally, we have a very important member of the leadership team who is called Julia Chinchi. She's the head of people relations. Anywhere the people of AWS need to know they go about or they have questions, they go to Julia Chinchi and she will help them well. She's been an amazing help to us. Um, I am not sure if the leaders are here with us. But if they are here with us, I would appreciate if they could wave in the reaction group or something so that we can move on with the session. Uh-huh. Thank you. Thank you, Kevin. Our agenda today is to understand strand agents, and we are starting with an introduction to autonomous workflows. And for us to achieve this particular agenda, I want us to meet the speaker. The speaker is called Osborn Nyakaru. He is the AIML track lead for GDG Chuka, and also he's the founder of Chiromo Forge. Chiromo Forge, it's actually a platform that enables hackathons to, it aggregates and it challenges the movement of hackathons, and it's amazing. He's doing an amazing job to ensure that people are, you know, they get hands-on experience with technology, and to ensure that people they are updated with technology, to ensure that all of you have insights about what you're supposed to know, especially in the area of tech. And he's an amazing person. But before we introduce him and then we can finally start the session, I would like to introduce Kevin today to at least speak something. And as he comes in, he will also introduce the speaker. So welcome, Kevin, today.
Let's appreciate Rachel as she has started us off on the right track and putting us so we can put some reactions to Rachel. And so much a privilege to get this opportunity to just say hi to you people on a very high level because today is not my day, it's the day for Rachel and Osborn. I'm ready and set to learn about Strands Agents. Actually, before today's session, I've not interacted with Strands Agents yet, and I believe it's going to be very valuable. And again, you're welcome to the AWS AML User Group monthly meetups. And we are also going to be having, it's already recorded and it's going to be available on our YouTube channel. I'll be sharing our link tree in the chat. Thank you, Rachel. And as because you've given me the duty of welcoming Osborn, I met with Osborn at a certain event at LX. I think we were at the hub at LX, and he showed that he's a big enthusiast on AIML and a couple of things. And I just asked him, maybe we could one day come when you can come and speak in one of our user group events. And he said yes. And we just left it at that. But I'm usually that one person who, when I make an agreement with someone, I just don't do it for the sake of it. So I reached out to him again earlier this year, and he was glad we aligned on the topic. And right here, there it is. Now we have Osborn with us, who is, as Rachel has said, the founder of Chiromo Pod and the GDG Chuka on AIML. And without further ado, welcome Osborn. Take us away.
Thank you, Kevin. Hello, everyone. Thank you so much, Rachel and Tuei, for the introduction. I hope I'm audible enough. Um,
Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
yeah, okay. Thank you so much for the introduction. And it's amazing that I get to speak during this first session of the AIML, AWS AIML user group session. And thank you so much for uh, introducing me. So, as introduced, I am Osborn Nyakaru. I am the GDG AI/ML track lead at Chuka University, a computer science student and a student founder. So, the founder of Chiromo Forge. Chiromo Forge is a platform and a community, that aggregates hackathons and innovation challenges. And we are on a mission to become the next step for hackathon innovations and try to change the wasted ideas and in a way become like the African YC for hackathon, promising teams and hackathons. So yeah, and today I'll be taking you through Strands Agents, just an introduction of what Strands Agents is, something that I myself have just introduced myself to. and it's quite interesting. And since you're going into the age of where we're changing from, there's a shift, or AI is currently undergoing a fundamental transition from static generative models towards autonomous agentic systems. And that's where Strands Agents actually comes in. Strands Agents is an open source code first framework designed by AWS engineers to facilitate the creation of production ready AI agents. So it was first publicly released by AWS in around May, just last year. So it's still new, but from what I've seen, the capabilities of this particular framework is mind blowing. So, as I've said, a new generation of agentic framework. Um, but first, you'd want to understand, for people who might not be quite familiar, what an agent is. So, an agent um, is basically a piece of code. In very simple terms, a piece of code. So, without a large language model, um, let me just share my screen again. Okay. Yeah, so an agent in very simple terms is a piece of code. And for an agent to actually work as expected, it needs to be connected to a large language model. So a large language model allows it to actually it allows reasoning and intelligence for that particular agent. So an agent in an LLM basically has, almost, you could say, it's a chatbot. So for an agent to have agency and to affect changes in the outside world, you connect it with tools. So you have tools. So with this one, once uh, a user now interacts with this particular three things, you have an agentic system. So an agent is a piece of code written, connecting it to an LLM gives it capabilities to reason, the intelligence itself, and the tools provides it with now access to affecting the changes outside the world, outside the external environment. And that's what an agentic system does. So um, back to Strands Agents, unlike traditional workflow-based systems that require developers to hard code complex decision trees, the Strands framework adopts a model-driven philosophy where when the reasoning abilities of modern large language models serve as the primary engine for planning, execution, and tool selection. So here's what I mean. Model-driven philosophy. If you look at agentic systems, you would realize that um, there are prompt. Let me not get too technical, but for LLMs to actually have the reasoning capabilities, there were things called prompt templates that provided, let's say, examples of questions or examples of how a user would want to affect, or maybe um, or how a user would want, let's say, in simple words, questions, then answers. So it uses those questions or kind of uh, templates to get an idea of what it needs to respond to. But now, using as large language models have been fine tuned and they've been improved, They have more reasoning capabilities, hence they don't require these templates, which have questions and answers, examples of questions and answers they should be going for. Large language models have more reasoning capabilities, and now they can act autonomously by themselves, reasoning, knowing if they should use this particular tool or if they should change to something else. So that's where the Strands Agents SDK comes in. And the framework is built upon the two strands metaphor, which means there is a relationship between a foundational model, which is the intelligence, which we've talked about, the large language model. Then we have external tools, which is now the capabilities, which allow now the whole ecosystem, the agent, the large language model, and the tools to work together to actually perform changes and affect the external environment. So by breaking down these components, Strands allows for modular architecture where the underlying model can be swapped without rewriting the core application logic. This means that you can use different types of large language models without necessarily changing the core application logic. So this actually means in the Strands agents, if you look at the Strands agents model providers, which allow this model, these Strands agents to use particular models, you would find that there are a number of model providers that allow the agent to get access to large language models like Cloud, Gemini, and all those things. And you can find Amazon Bedrock, Nova, Anthropic, Gemini, and all these other model providers, which now connect to the agent and give it the reasoning capabilities. So that's it. As I said, an agent has intelligence from large language models. It has agency, the authority to take actions in an external environment. Then autonomy, which means the capacity to operate with very minimal human intervention by breaking down a high level goal into actionable steps. So I would want to go back to something. Um, so we do have this query, like an example of the agentic loop from a query to an output. An example could be, let's say for an agent that books flights, you would have something like, a user query could be something like, find the cheapest flight from Nairobi to Kisumu for tomorrow and book it if it is under 8,000 Kenya shillings. That's a query that a user provides. So a large language model now reasons and acts. First reasons, decides on what it's supposed to do, what tools it should call, and from that now it calls that particular tool from the action in the action step, calls the flight search tool using particular tools that it has access to. Then has an observation, observes if does Jumbo Jet charge less than or maybe less than 8,000 Kenya shillings. If it's 7,500, then it decides, is it less than or is it greater than 8,000 Kenya shillings? If yes, then it calls the booking tool. Then you have the final output. Then your flight is booked if it meets the decision. Yeah, so that's a basic structure of how an agentic loop works from the query of a user to the output. Now for a visual understanding or maybe of how the Strands Agents works is this is basically what the graph or the diagram I've shown you describes in more detail using the Strands Agents. So we have a user query, the one book for me a flight for tomorrow under 8,000 Kenya shillings. So there's an agentic loop where the first thing it does is reason and plan. The second thing it does is now select the tools it's supposed to use. So it reasons and plans, select the tools. So there's a reasoning and acting, reason, act, and plan loop in this one. Then it executes. And now for the Strands agents, it actually has two strands. So the Strands agents, as I had said, is the large language model is for intelligence, as you can see, provides now the agent with reasoning capabilities with autonomy, making sure that this agent has very minimal human intervention. It knows if an example could be for that particular booking a flight, it searches through a particular website or maybe that particular booking platform and sees that there's Jumbo Jet, there's Kenya Airways, Ethiopian Airways, and sees that Jumbo Jet has charges or maybe charges under 8,000 Kenya shillings, then it knows that it's supposed to go with that one. If it doesn't find any flight among those three that isn't under 8,000 Kenya shillings, it will itself search through the platform itself to look for other flights or other airports to look at, and now with very minimal human intervention. So that has been made possible by fine-tuning, improving the large language model to make its own decisions where it faces like a blocker. Then that's the first strand, providing intelligence to the agent. Then, and for that one specifically on the reasoning, it allows self-correction. So noticing when a tool call fails and trying a different approach. So if it doesn't find that particular, uh, let's say it doesn't find uh, what's it called? It doesn't find a flight under 8,000 Kenya shillings. It now decides, or maybe tries a different approach, or maybe it doesn't find the right platforms. It tries to look up for a different platform as long as it has access to fetching that one for using particular tools. Then for the second for the second strand, sorry, is tools and execution. So this one allows external change and affecting changes in the external environment. So in strands, there's a tool I'll describe in a simple code how the code looks like. It's very simple and it's easy to actually run that one. So the tools allow agents to step out of their bubble and affect the real world. So we have a Python function decorated with add tool. I'll describe that one better. But now the tools themselves can do external stuff like booking the flight itself, searching through a booking platform, and doing all those things that maybe for a user they would have done themselves, like searching through a platform, booking their flight, and all those external things. So that's the new generation of frameworks, which is quite different from what has been there for agentic frameworks. So agentic AI in the Kenyan context, I think I'll jump into that one later. Maybe I'll describe some use cases of where agentic AI can be used, and I think it's quite an interesting use, especially Strands Agents, quite a powerful tool that people should be introduced to. It's quite interesting, and I'll provide use cases on that one. But this is basically what the Strands Agents SDK framework actually means. So I think I'll jump into simple line of code. I think let me start with quick start. So for people who are utilizing Python, Strands Agents provides access to Python and TypeScript. So for a quick start, you have to create a virtual environment to get started with Strands Agents. That's the first thing that someone has to do. Then you have the installing the Strands agent itself via the SDK package as the first thing that you need to do, which provides access to now Strands agents and all its tools. But specifically for the tools, you have to install Strands agents tools that provides you a set of tools for your agent to use. So yeah, then you have the Strands agents builder, which is not quite important for a simple line of code or a simple agent, but it still helps you build your own Strands agents and tools. So going back to code, if you look at the documentation, because of maybe limitations on paid paid packages and all those things, you'd want to start testing out with the free freemium models and model providers. So since I had access to Gemini, that's what I'll be using. And I want to show you, if you want a good place to start to know how to navigate Strands agents and use Strands agents is the documentation. And you would want to so there are very different ways, or maybe different model providers which give you access to the large language model. The default model provider basically gives you access to the large language models. So Amazon Bedrock is the default model provider that gives access of the cloud model from Anthropic. So it provides the agent access to cloud, which is the default one. And this particular model now can provide the reasoning capabilities to the agent. I'll describe it more in detail in a simple line of code. So you have to have AWS account, AWS credentials, and but for a simpler one, which is for most people, I think we have access to Gemini, which is easily accessible. You can find you do need to have a Gemini API key, which is something you can find in the Gemini Google AI Studio for you to set that up. So to install it specifically using Gemini, you would run this command after creating a virtual environment. So we have pip install Strands Agents specifically for Gemini, then tools that the agent will use. So you copy that and run it on your environment. So this is what I did here. I ran this one, so I commented it out because it's run. So the next thing that you're supposed to do is importing the agent tool, which allows reasoning and producing outputs from the Strands framework. Then, because we're using the Gemini model, we need to import the Gemini model tool from strands.model.gemini. So running this basically will get you access to the Gemini model specifically. And this is since Gemini is, most of us have access to Gemini and it's easily accessible and you can run it with very minimal charges, then I would suggest or recommend you to use Gemini. So then we have a simple calculator to base a basic calculation. So something I wanted from this line of code was to ask the model to calculate the agent itself to calculate my age in minutes. So we import the calculator tool, which the Strands agent will call, the agent itself will call when calculating my age in minutes. So you define a model that that has the Gemini model, have your API key stored in the secrets section. So that's where you have your Gemini API key. For those who may not know where to get the Gemini API key, please let me know and I'll direct you to where you can access or create your own Gemini API key. So we specify the exact Gemini model that you're going to use for this particular agent. And now we're going to use Gemini 2.5 Flash. Then having the parameters, as you can see, clearly describing what each particular parameter does and how it affects our output. So after doing that, we have you call the agent, creating an agent instance with you describing the model itself that we had described here. Then calling the tool itself, the calculator, which is a very simple agent for us to use. So then I do have my simple question. Said I was born in 2002, tell me my age in minutes. Now, once you run this one, you have the response displayed here. So you have, it calls the tool. So if you have a number of tools, I would want to show you something. Yeah, if you have a number of tools, then it's going to list down, okay, this is tool number one, tool number two, but because we're using one particular tool, then it's basically going to display that one. And for other models which are more powerful than Gemini, it would actually describe steps and provide more detailed description of something before actually calling the tool. So it would say something like, okay, the user has asked me to calculate the age in minutes. This is the step I'm going to take. I'm going to use this tool, then go to this other tool in case you're using a number of different tools. So that's what it's supposed to do. But for Gemini, this is what we have. It calls the calculator tool first, does the operation, calculates, and gives you the result in minutes. So apparently, I am 11 if I was born in 2002, I'm 11,571,120 minutes old. So that's the response it provides for a very simple agent. So as you can see, as I was describing, I said that there are two different things that are being done here. We have using the large language model. The large language model that you're using is Gemini, and the tool that you're using for this particular one is a calculator. So we have the model and the tool. And the agent itself does its own calculations. If it was a more complex task, then it would use its autonomy to make its own particular, what's it called? It would self-correct. So if it doesn't know what to do, if it hits a blocker, then it knows I'll not ask the user, I'll just take this other direction instead. So this is what we have. Then we have now for an agent, this one is basically another agent that I was testing out. Another, not very complex, but it has a lot of extra stuff. But yeah, this is, so what I was basically doing was creating an agent that it searches the internet and provides a very simple, or maybe it created a very complex, very detailed description or differentiating between Strands Agents and LangChain, which is another framework. So, you'll basically start with this one. So basically commenting it out and running it will install the Strands Agents and the Strands Agents tools that will provide access to the tools that it's going to use. So this one, I would say it's not necessary for all agents that you're building in Strands Agents, but this one is specifically to give me access to EXA, which is basically, think of it like Google specifically, or that is better or specifically for AI to search through the internet. So that's basically it, which is, since it was it brought a bit of errors, this is why I ran this one, but this is not actually that important. So for setting up installation, as I've said, this one was so this one particularly allows me for this particular setup installation, not necessary for Strands Agents, but since I was trying to create, let me go, let's say what it was. I was trying to create an agent that provides a summary or a description. It provided a detailed description of the differences between Strands Agents and LangChain. And it then, I told it to create a diagram, an mermaid diagram, to describe it even effectively, more effectively, that is. So this is why I had to install these two. So for this specific one, that's why I had to do this, which is not entirely required for any Strands agent. But for this particular one, that's what I was supposed to do. Then we have the basic, as I had described earlier, importing agent from Strands, then Gemini model specifically from strands.model.gemini. As much as Strands it embraces all models, you need to respire, or you need to be specific about which particular model you're connecting. So that's why you have to be clear about what model you're importing from, where you're importing it from, and that particular tool that you're trying to import or model that you're trying to import. So for this particular one, I need three specific tools from Strands tools, or not three, four specific tools. So I have Exa, which is now allows the agent to search through the internet and find information about Strands agents from the website or wherever it may need to search. Then we have FileWrite, which is now um, it writes now everything that it's fetched in a structured format. Diagram is for creating a mermaid diagram or a simple description of what Strands agents looks like, and I'll show you in a few. Then we have current time, which is basically not very important, but that's what we had. Then I had to customize the tool to make sure that since I'm using Google Colab, it was quite hard to, because when it was providing output, it was asking, do you want me to write this file? Yes or no? So I found it hard to actually write down, to actually say yes. So I had to say auto approve so that when it gets to this step, or when it gets to start using the file write tool, then it does it automatically without asking me. But I would recommend, for best practice, always um, make sure that you have like that. You don't auto approve for anything that an agent does, but this was required since I was using Colab. So that's basically what this code does. Then you have the model, you have the Gemini model, having the Gemini API key, providing the model ID and the parameters to be used. So that's the first step of the agent, the large language model being described, initialized. Then we have defining the agent itself. So trying to connect the model itself with the tools and the prompt so that the agent knows exactly what it can do. So this is something you can always change. This is where you update your agent for a simple agent. And yeah, it can be as detailed as possible depending on what you're doing. So this one is your senior systems architect, goal is to research a technology, document the findings in a file, and generate a mermaid diagram of the system project. So that's what this agent actually did. Then we have the execution loop, where you provide the query, the agent will decide which to call and in what order. So this was the specific question, and this was what it had to do. It save it in a text file, then creating a mermaid sequence diagram showing our strands agent for the tool. That's basically what it actually did. Then you have invoking the agent, then providing or finding the output. And once I ran the agent, it actually went to call the tools, did the Exa search a couple of times. Since you're using the Exa search, which now goes into the internet, searches for that particular information of what a user wants, then it actually goes into the internet and searches. So it did very extensive research on that. So this is what it provided, quite detailed. I didn't know how to provide it. I didn't get time to provide a shorter description, but I would want to go to maybe the summary of what it actually provided at the end. Yeah, so it's a lot. And it actually created a mermaid diagram describing what the differences between the two frameworks. So as you can see here, it describes what Strands Agents is. It saved the file in frameworks analytics.txt. So it says Strands Agents emphasizes a model first or LLM first approach. It's designed for building autonomous agents, and so on and so on. Then you have LangChain started with a developer first approach, providing modular blocks to constructing, and so on and so on. So that's what it provided, and created a summary of all, or maybe the differences from tools, multi-agent systems, memory, use cases, performance, and reliability. And that's what it provided. Yeah. Then for the diagram itself, it provided a code. Let me just scroll there. For the mermaid diagram, it provided this particular, maybe where do I go? So it actually fetched, used the diagram tool. It called the diagram tool to actually create code to write this particular mermaid code, that if you take this code and have it converted into a diagram, you'll have something like, let me just show you. Yeah, so this is what it created from that particular code, that mermaid call, after calling the diagrams tool that we had, that it had access to, which we gave it access to. So as you can see, it describes quite clearly what I was trying to say, how I use a sensor query to the agent. The agent uses the LLM to process the query and decide, so the reasoning and intelligence. Then LLM selects the tool. After selecting the tool, it executes the tool. After the tool is executed and is called, it returns the result. Then it processes the tool result and formulates a final response. And this final response is sent back to the user. And that's basically how the Strands agents work. And that's a simple description of Strands agents, and you've seen how it works. I would have wanted to create I saw this financial ads generator, which could have used a number of models. So it could have used Amazon's video tool called, what's it called? There's Amazon's audio tool called Foley. It used Amazon's tool on, what's it called? Or generating video, and I would want to test out that one, create like a financial ads generator where a user could come in and let's say it's not specifically about financial, but maybe ads generator. So if a user is a business person and they want to generate ads that they can. Yeah, so as I was saying, so if a user would want to generate ads as a business person, you create, you provide a prompt, the agent creates an ad based on what you requested and what the access to the tools that it has, which is a bit kind of complex a bit and it requires more tools. And but that's like a really good use case of where you could use an the Strands Agents. But yeah, that's basically uh, what I have for Strands Agents. So if anyone has a question on that one, I'd happily respond to it. So if you have any questions, please let me know.
Thank you so much, Osborn. I think I'll go first with my question. As other people, if anyone has a question, you can text the chat and then Osborn will read it. And let me start it off. First of all, for people, some of us, they have never started with strand agents and we're not familiar with them. We're wondering how can someone who has not yet started with strand agents, how can they get in without being confused? And the second question is, have you ever encountered confusion when you started out with strand agents and how did you go about it? Yes. Pardon? We cannot hear you.
I think on my side it's breaking a bit, so I didn't get what you were asking.
I am asking, one, if when you started out with strand agents, did you ever get to a point of confusion or a
Or at
and how did you go about it? And number two, for someone who is starting out, maybe you have mentioned and maybe you can repeat it. For someone who is starting out, how would you advise them to go about it to avoid that confusion also? Yes.
okay, okay. I think I'll answer the second question because the first one I haven't gotten that one, so that you can ask again. But for someone who's starting out, I think a good place to start is I think the documentation describes quite well how, or for someone who's starting out, it's the best place to look at some of the large language models. It provides you access to and it can connect to. It provides, it's like the easiest, the place I would recommend someone to go to is the Strands Agents documentation. I think I could share that particular link so that anyone who's interested would just go there and check it out. So it's a very good place to start. Another good place to look at or explore is the AWS. YouTube channel. They provide very descriptive, they have very amazing videos on how you would create agents using the Strands Agents SDK. So those two are the best places I would recommend someone starting out to start from. So it's even if you're new to AI agents, you're new to agentic systems themselves, that's like the best place to start. So yeah, I think that's my response for that one. The first question was,
Are there any challenges you have faced when you started out with Strand Agents, and any confusion you yourself you faced, and how did you go about them?
yeah, thank you for the question. I think there are a number of challenges, or maybe not not many, but a key challenge is access to the models themselves, because for you to access the models, then most of them are paid for, or yeah, most of them are paid for. So you would want to choose, let's say, because from what I was describing, I was using Gemini because that one is easily accessible. But for other complex or maybe powerful models, you tend to not get access. So you find that you can't, once you try running, you can't access it because, well, you have to pay for the models. You have to have the API keys, which most of them are paid for. And that's one challenge. Um, I did another challenge I had was running it locally my on maybe Visual Studio Code or something. I don't know what the problem was, but it had an issue running locally on my machine. So probably that was a challenge on my end. I don't know why. I'm still trying to look at why that could be. It's a lightweight framework, which for a simple line of code, it should work, but that's something I've noticed. Um, and I'm still trying to look at ways I can, yeah, improve or look at some of the solutions that exist. But for the solution that I've found right now, it's using Google Colab, which is uh, the easiest place to like test and run these agents, from the simple ones to now the more advanced ones. But those are the main challenges that I've had.
Well, thank you very much. I am well answered. Is there anyone with a question? If you have a question, you can unmute and ask, or you can type it out in the chat, and then we can read it out for Osborn, and he's going to answer you. Anyone with a question? Yes, Tue has a question. No.
Thank you, Osborn. I first of all wanted to appreciate an amazing presentation where you broke down also from a high level what autonomous workflows are and agentic. So my as a let me turn on my video. As a user group, we're very keen on using AI ML to do transformative, impactful like innovations or something that will just reach and solve, especially Africa's problems. From your own interaction with these Strands agents and also agentic AI as in general, what do you think can be some of the high level use cases that agentic AI and things such as Strands agent can help in terms of solving some of the challenges that we have? For example, uh, let's say things around data-driven decision making for organizations, or maybe proactive security for SMEs? I don't know. I'm just thinking out loud of some of the things that are big issues for different sectors in the Kenyan or African context. What have you seen can these agents be applied for, especially in these African contexts?
Yeah, I think that's a really good question, because when you're looking at something, or maybe if you're looking at the technical side and you've learned something, you'd want to understand some of the use cases and how this thing can impact the world. So I think there are a number of use cases that this particular Strands agents in the agentic framework can be used. I think, I think if you look at agri-tech, probably we've seen how an example could be in agri-tech, you could have an agent that monitors soil moistures and autonomously triggers irrigation systems, or maybe sends SMS alerts to farmers via maybe Africa's stocking USSD. You could use it in fintech, let's say a customer support agent, which is something already we've seen. We see that people are building agents in that doesn't just answer the frequently asked questions, but it maybe can check, look at this, it can check a user's transaction history, and then it tries to initiate a refund for a user who maybe uh, they were charged inaccurately, something like that. You could also look at, I was thinking of this idea on e-commerce, where we have like a Shopify based store for users. I think a problem we have is that we try to build solutions. We try to match up with the Western world, building AI agents and all those things, but we haven't actually solved local problems really well. And you see that small businesses don't have simple websites and all those things. So if we could build Shopify based stores where a builder or a business person could actually create like a simple store, and from that store they have they can a user or maybe their customers get access to these particular products that they sell, and now agents can be used here to now help a user find products on the store basically. So that's another place, because we have to look at some of the problems that are there, solve them first, and see how agents can be used to make work better. I think that's those are some of the use cases that I think I have for now, but there are so many. I think as we explore the agents, looking at a lot of research on some of the problems that exist and how agentic AI and Strands agents can be used. There's so much. There's so many. There's so many. Yeah.
Thank you. I agree with you. Thanks so much for that. Appreciate it.
Uh-huh. Thank you so much for that. I can see Magana is also asking a question. Magana, you can ask your question.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay. How are you, Osborn, Rachel, Kevin, and the rest?
I'm doing well. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like
Good.
to thank
Okay.
you.
Okay. Like.
Okay, so Osborn, thank you very much for the wonderful session, and also for the organizers for taking their time to ensure that we can have very nice insights, especially on a weekend. So I just have a simple question. As a cloud architect, I always emphasize on efficiency. And to me, efficiency is achieving the best in production while utilizing the fewest or least possible amount of resources. That's in terms of cost, technology, and what. So, what I wanted to ask, according to me, like that thing of maybe conceptualizing a design or a mermaid diagram. According to me, if I just use a model, the model itself, maybe Gemini Flash, Gemini Pro, like I think I can still get that diagram. So I just wanted to ask, what advantages or what upper hand will I get by introducing agents and tools into the mix? Because I feel like a standard alone model is powerful enough to accomplish that task.
Yeah, that's a really good question. And it's quite agentic AI is kind of like an additional layer of what large language models have been able to do. Because if you look at, yes, we have models that can do that. This was basically a very simple description of how an agent would work. But if you look at another use case, which I didn't mention, was like um, that I did mention earlier about booking a flight. A large language model cannot book a flight for you and provide you access. A large language model can maybe give you suggestions and tell you, let's say a user query could be something like, I want to go on a flight to Mombasa tomorrow at this time. Book me a flight for that is under 8,000 Kenya shillings. So that's like a query. In this case, if you look at a large language model like Gemini itself can only provide you suggestions, or maybe from it searching the internet, it gives you suggestions. So this is Kenya Airways, or maybe this is Jambo Jet. This is another airways company. This, and these are their prices. That's a model. Then you have an agentic system that you tell it the same prompt and use a query, book me a flight and 8,000 Kenya shillings. It actually goes to that booking platform, books a specific flight for you under 8,000 Kenya shillings, and it can actually, using the tools that it has access to, if you build a system that does booking management, it can actually pay for you if it has access to your payment details and give you the ticket. So it's that additional layer. You see how we are going from reactive, proactive, where we don't want to do things. We're being lazy and we want AI to do all the stuff for us. So that's basically adding that layer where we are making AI do like everything for us, book the entire flight. You don't have to search through the internet. You don't have to do that. I think that's what agentic AI is about. It does the actual, like the whole thing for you, almost the whole thing for you. So I hope I've answered your question.
Yeah, I get you. So, like, let's say if a model is an assistant, like agentic AI is more of a personal assistant.
Exactly. So it's a person more. Exactly. That's basically what an agent is. It's your superhuman personal assistant that does everything for you.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
You're welcome.
Okay, thank you so much for that answer. Is there anybody else with a question? We're still open for questions. Anybody else open for questions? Okay. I'm going once. I'm going twice.
Maybe I wanted to add something to what Osborn has just said. Is there's been a lot of debate in the AI circles where people are saying they're doing a sample, something very simple, then they're saying their product is agentic or it has agentic AI. And ideally it's just it has some set of if then else statements which cannot scale. So the what makes agentic is the autonomousness, the ability of it to adapt on the fly, make decisions as if it was you. For example, like when we started the session, we had few people had joined in. So ideally, I process in my brain that, hey, I need to, as much as I reminded people 2 hours ago, I need to go again and tell them, hey, we are live. That is a decision I made autonomously. Like it wasn't part of a rule set or something. If I joined the session and I found 200 people already, or maybe, okay, let's say maybe because my Zoom has a limit of 100 people and it has 90 people, then I wouldn't want to go and invite more people. Then they get frustrated that they cannot join the session. So that is something that can only happen on that at that exact point in time. It's not a decision that can be done beforehand. And as much as you can say these are just two if then else statements, no, at scale you cannot use production rules the way you used like Prolog and other different things. So it's and then the other aspect that I think Osborne has also mentioned is the ability of different agents to work together. For example, you're having let's say an AI agent for booking a flight, an AI agent for bringing out your food preferences, another agent coming together to know which places would you want to visit when you're in a particular area, and then they're all working together as one entity. So those are some of the things that makes it very, very powerful. And that is why I was asking that question that Osborne answered. How can we use these tools to solve our problems? Because what would have taken us 20 years to solve, maybe agentic AI can help us solve it in maybe like, let's say 2 or 3 years, depending on how it is. And if you're seeing it happen, I heard that Google added Luo and Kikuyu into their one of the Waxel or something. What was that? Don't know, that was when you're following up. You're a GDG. I'm not much on the Google side of things, but I saw that and can see what are the implications of that. It means that if you're able to have inclusive AI, so that you don't have to have learned Swahili or English to a particular proficiency level for you to leverage these tools, then it will be amazing. And to make it even amazing is that I hear that the data set that was being used to build this particular aspect around Luo and Kikuyu has been added for download on Hugging Face. That means a lot. And the biggest question would be now as we build is the data sets on which these AI agents depend upon, especially in the African context. Are they readily available for these AI agents to consume? Because they are not robots. They're not going to go to a desk or a drawer and open it and scan a document. You have to do something about the data. So I think that is what I just wanted to add, the autonomousness of it, as well as the ability of it to make decisions, even maybe better decisions than ourselves, is what, again, also is a double-edged sword, because if it has that ability, it might not just make a decision that favors you. It might make a decision that does not favor you, but is it ethical or is it responsible or anything like that? It might say that you don't deserve to go for a holiday in Spain, and you have your uncle who is sick, and it sends all the money that you want to go for holiday to your uncle. That can be crazy. Anyways, yeah, I think I'll take it back to you.
Okay. Thank you very much for that. Uh, I believe all the people with questions they have asked, and I think we're done taking the questions. So as we close the session, I want to thank Osborn for giving us such an insightful session with us. We have learned a lot. And actually, these sessions, as Tue usually says, are the reasons why we have this community, so that at least we can have such discussions and we can also have insights for everything else that we are supposed to do. So thank you once again, Osborn, for discussing this with us. We'll be very happy to have you once again and to collaborate with you everywhere else. If there is any new member who has joined us today, welcome very much. You will be helped here. Aside from Kevin Tue, I think I have seen another leader, and maybe if he has something to say. I had seen Jacob, but I think he has also gone, but it is still okay. And I think we can come to the end of our session. I hope everyone has learned something, and have an amazing day to all of you. Unless someone else has to say something, you're open to say something.
I think as usual, we can have our group photo. Maybe we can stop or can have the group photo, then you can share in the WhatsApp group. So if you're in a position to turn on your video, please do. Thank you, Gilbert. So let's turn on our videos for the group photo. And then we'll share it in the WhatsApp group. If you haven't joined it yet, it will be here. So please let's get more people. You have this on record, it can help you somewhere. I've ever seen someone say they shared a screenshot of them in a session and they got an opportunity. So it's very important to have it out there. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Magana. Thank you, Jacob, as always. Grace, good to see you. Anyone else? Okay, I think we can go with you guys because I don't want to keep you here. Others can. Okay, usually someone else who always comes in. Thank you. Welcome, Anthony. Once more, anyone else? Going once, going twice, going thrice. So I'm also following up on some things such as session giveaways. So please bear with us as we also await for some transitions within the user group and things around that space. We can try to be starting to give you some swag items. But again, just to mention, we're going to be having our 1 year anniversary. Maybe turn off and turn on. Yeah, 1 year anniversary. It's going to be 1 year since we started this user group. So let me take one more screenshot. So let's smile, let's look at your own lens, something, and then you can be able to do this. Look good for the camera. Whatever you want to say in your head, you can say it with your mouth. Awesome. I've taken a couple, and also someone else to do for redundancy. You might take screenshots, then they're not being saved somewhere. Let me see. Let me do that. Then you wonder, Kevin ran with the screenshots. Where did he go? Yeah, I think I've taken, yeah, it has appeared. Yes, thank you so much. Thank you so much, everyone, for that. Yeah, so I just wanted to make a few announcements. We are going to be having our 1 year anniversary coming up this month. It's almost 1 year, just a few days to 1 year since we started the user group. And then we're also going to be having all of you, we had the overwhelming response for the certification group study sessions. which we had over 65, 60 people, 60 plus people who wanted to showed interest. And we have narrowed down the certification that people want to study, as well as the timing. Ideally, what we are saying is the machine learning engineer associate, and then we're going to look at the solutions architect associate. You're going to see that if you're going to look at any foundational level, you're going to also have that. And then most people have said they want to do it on the weekend. We are going to also make sure you consider that as we do that. And how those study sessions are going to be done is maybe through deep work, as well as also group study where we look at questions and concepts, as well as starting from the exam outline as we do. And that is going to start this coming week. We are going to align with the leadership so that we can start you off on that journey. And you never know, I'll start conversation with the user group to see whether you can get either discounted vouchers or even 100% off if possible. I think with that, I'll leave it. Again, there is BISA. BISA have an amazing, BISA is become a solutions architect. They have an amazing track coming up on agentic AI. So if you haven't signed up yet, I will advise you to make sure you do that. So let me get the link and share with you all. And funny thing, this time round, they have workshops and hands-ons for BISA. BISA, that is one of the best programs I've seen out there in terms of hands-on learning. So I'll share these with you. Just check them out on the website. That's the BISA program, Become a Solutions Architect. That's what it was known for as a start. But right now they've transitioned. We have agentic AI and everything around that space. So go check them out, Q1 2026, and register. We want to see as many of you there in that, the Kenyan community represented there. And there's going to be workshops and so many things. I can't wait to start documenting my learning journey on that space. And think with that, thank you so much for taking time on your Saturday morning. As usual, we usually have these monthly meetups on a Saturday morning. Yes, Crispinas, there is an ongoing Nova AI hackathon. I feel like I'm doing church, those church announcements. The way people want to say na vijana wakutane baada ya kanisa pale. So that kind of a thing is what I'm feeling I'm doing. But anyway, there's the Nova AI hackathon going on right now. And then there's I think there must be another thing I forgotten. Yeah, Opus what? Cloud Opus 4.6 came out this week. Amazing stuff. It has already been integrated by all the cloud service providers. I don't know how they do it. Maybe they are told in advance because it is released within 1 hour. Every other cloud provider is announcing that it is available on their platform. So cloud is out there and it is being, obviously you already know about, maybe one of us will come and speak about OpenClaw and what it was in terms of multibot and everything. And I hear it has created ripples in the AI space over the last few weeks. You can't wait to have that. And then also Jacob is also mentioning, and maybe, I don't know, Jacob, you have all these infos or something. I don't know if they can come off mute and just come and turn on your video and share. I might be messing it up. I might not be communicating the way you would put it out. But if you can come and come off mute and tell us more if there's any that I missed. Yeah. Cloud Associate internship, everything they're there in the chats, but I'll make sure I curate these and share with you guys in terms of the chats. Yeah. Thank you so much. And I know there's AWS Student Community Day coming up. They're still being planned by the Cloud Club captains. Awesome stuff. We can't wait to be part of your community partners as the AWS IML user group. Do well, and we can't wait to be part of that. Yep, and yeah, so that is it. And next month we are partnering with HashiCorp user group, Meru, to bring back the Terraform 30 days is a certification, the certification challenge, 30-day challenge for this year. It's going to be happening next month, and we have it already on Luma, so you can check it on the Luma. I'll share with you the Luma for AWS AIM. I mean, not AWS, not HashiCorp user group Meru KE, and you can start RSVPing for that. And it's going to be seats limited, so make sure you do it as early as possible. We're getting that because it's you're getting that fast. And yes, that is it. And see you on the next one. Thank you so much, Osborn, for making time and making it amazing. Any parting shot you have, Osborn, before we end?
Um, I just want to say thank you so much for this amazing session and having me in this one. And you, Tue and Rachel, thank you for making this session amazing and looking forward to more sessions coming up. So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye. Thank you so much, everyone, and have a nice one. See you on the next one next month, as well as other things that are going to be coming in the user group. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.